I have talked about GSU, how it started as emergency company of the Kenya Police. Later on, it became E-company of the GSU. Then there's a H company, which is at Ruaraka. Then there is the T company, which is also called TS at Embakasi. That is the three major companies. The H company, headquarters, the E company, which is the mother company, the T company, which is the training school, the R company, the rec company, and so on and so forth. I have met people who went through GSU training school, and I would ask them a lot of questions. You have been to Magadi? Yes. ABCD. Do you know this and that? Why? How did it come to be? People tell me we also found it that way. And we asked our instructors how these things came to be known. And they would tell us that even when they were recruits, they found that. So do we continue saying we found it that way, or do I explain it? I think I'll explain it. I'll start with the, G company, of course, guards the presidential state house and whatever gate. H is the headquarters at Ruaraka. Don't ask me a question about Ruaraka, because when we left Kiganjo and we were general duty police officers, what is called regular police, we were going to GSU training school. But first of all, we had to be accepted. We had to become temporary GSU officers. So we had to be received at Ruaraka. We stayed for less than 3 hours. You cannot form an opinion on anything where you have stayed for 3 hours. Then after clearance, we went to Embakasi GSU training school, where we stayed for 3 days. Very few things can be formed about 3 days, but most of the time we went to Magadi. This step is supposed to explain to those people who have been students at GSU training school and they have always been wondering, kwa nini hii inaitwa hivi? Na huyu Wambua ni nani? Tunasikiaga tu Wambua, who was Wambua? And so on and so forth. I do not know whether there used to be like a small gate, half gate, between APTC and GSU training school in Embakasi. All the GSU people I've met and AP, when I ask them whether the gate is still there, they tell me that it is there. So for APs, if you are an AP or a GSU or any police officer, any member of the National Police Service, and families of those instructors, both GSU and AP, are allowed. But any stranger, huwezi enda ukatembea kwa GSU and then ukatumia shortcut to the APTC. If you want to go to APTC, utatoka nje unaenda huko. But for serving police officers, meaning I'm no longer qualified, for serving police officers, both National Police Service and the Administration Police Service plus DCI, you can use that gate. Family members of staff working both civilian and uniformed at the two campuses, you can use that. In the 70s, between 73 and 79, there was much great expansion in personnel and training syllabus of both GSU and AP. And these were supervised by two people. On the side of the APTC, there was the commandant who was called Major Retired Muya, a retired army commanding officer. No, a retired army officer in charge, OC, not CO, but OC of the Kenya Army. On the GSU side, there was a commandant who was Major Retired Bob Morgan, a retired OC of the military, of the British military SAS. So both of them were retired military majors, retired military OC, and very close friends. It became as though GSU was more of AP than the Kenya police. So it was just like a twin college. And then the other thing that brought them together, you see, by then AP, the highest ranked AP was somebody who was called Senior Sergeant Major, what today we call Warrant Officer 1. And his deputy was Sergeant Major, what we call Warrant Officer 2. That is the highest rank. So there was only one Warrant Officer 1, whom the AP used to call Senior Sergeant Major at Embakasi. And we had several Sergeant Majors countrywide. We had a Sergeant Major who was deputizing the Senior Sergeant Major in Embakasi. And every province there was a Sergeant Major who was coordinating all AP activities in the province. Just like the police, we have PPO, Provincial Police Officer. That was a Sergeant Major. In the districts, we had a Senior Sergeant who was coordinating AP work in a district. And in a division, we used to have a sergeant. I said in the provinces was a Sergeant Major, which is a Warrant Officer 2, the district Senior Sergeant. In the division, there was a sergeant, and the chief's camp was a corporal. That was the formation of the AP. So when APs were having their passing out, when there were DOs who were graduating with the recruits, then the DOs would be squad commanders and would hold the swords. But those were rare. In many cases, when APs were doing their passing out, it is the GSU inspectors from just across the gate, the fence, who would come and hold swords for them. So you can see AP and GSU were so close. And if you look at their syllabus, the syllabus of a recruit GSU officer and a recruit AP are almost the same. The only difference is the GSU would always regularly go back for refresher, and AP anaweza hata retire kama hajawahi rudi Embakasi. Now that is my definition of Embakasi, both AP and GSU. But you know, I stayed there for 3 days. I didn't know much. Now we go to Magadi. Magadi, the camp is surrounded by stones. These stones, I've talked to GSU serving and then anybody who has gone to Magadi, and the stones are called chapati. I'd ask him, ukuta bado ni wa chapati? He says, why are they called ukuta wa chapati? Say, tulipata hivyo, na walimu wetu waliambiwa hivyo. So it is that way. Now, from today, hakuna tulipata hivyo. From today, If you have been to GSU training school, either as a GSU or a GD or even NIS. NIS usually go to GSU training school for paramilitary. Now you know. Around 1978, it was decided that there has to be a perimeter wall surrounding the camp. And around that time, the police officers were detail number 38. For those of you who are not members of the police service, detail number is the first two numbers. Nowadays there are three. Two numbers that is placed on somebody's chest. Mine started with 41, then the other three number. Today, there are not two numbers, there are three numbers. I think it is 120. So when I get a police officer, I tell him or her, mimi ni detail number 41. He or she says, the current detail is number 120. So detail number 38, the first two numbers are 38, are the ones who, on top of their training, they used to go to the bush and get specified stones which were shaped according to those people chapati form. But if you ask me, they are formed in a form of mandazi. Mandazi limepikwa vibaya. So they would be placed, and if you look at them, if you photograph that place, you'd think that hizi nyumba za maridadi zimetengenezwa na good shaped stones. No. They are just imewekwa juu ya ingine, juu ya ingine, juu ya ingine, juu ya ingine, without cement, without anything, up to the knee level, up to the knee level. Is it knee level or belt level? Well, up to a certain level. Now these people placed them that way, and that was number 38. But 39, 40, 41, that is me and onwards, especially in the 40s, there used to be elements. There used to be rain, there used to be wind, there used to be such things. So plus snakes, yeah. There used to be some very yellow snakes there, which ikikubite, you go to Jesus. It never beat me, so I have 30 years to go from today. So when these snakes would go around those stones, so unajua zinasukuma hiyo mawe inaanguka na nini. You came back later, you found the stones zimeanguka kwa ajili ya upepo, kwa ajili ya mvua, maybe hata mbuzi za Wamasai labda na ng'ombe inakuja nafikiri it's a place where it can scratch its back. When it tries to scratch the back, you find mawe inaanguka. So our team, our detail was given the duty of ripanga. And it was hard, but it is not as hard as 38. So kama umeenda GSU training school, umeona hiyo mawe ya chapati, you now know the meaning. The other thing that people in GSU training school never understood, there is a field called Mangelepa. Mangelepa. Why is it called Mangelepa? Or why was it named Mangelepa? Is it named after this band we hear, Kina Ivani Kabila Kabanze Mangelepa? The answer is yes. It was named after the band called Mangelepa. The band is still there up to today. Those days, Mangelepa used to have a dance called stage martial. First of all, the name Mangelepa comes from the French word marquis le pas, which means marching soldiers. So these fellows started a band where they had a style called stage martial, where soldiers were marching. And you know the way they march, it's like wanakanyaga hot cold. And in Mangelepa Kiwanja, there was I will not go into detail because of security, and it will also take a lot of time on this tape. Vijana wanashanga nikisema tape. There was a style where you would be told you should not run fast, you should not run slow. There are even occasions when they could shoot bullets to you next to your leg. So you have to be very careful. When they shoot you, jump up quickly to avoid that bullet. We had a person who was a Kisi by tribe who was employed with us, but he went to GSU. Those of us who went to Kiganjo and were recruited at the were recruited at Kisi, when they met him, they recognized him because they were recruited the same day. His leg was hit by a bullet. So to avoid that bullet, you could jump. And the style, if I can tell you, it's trotting. I think the proper word for English is trotting. You trotted to avoid bullets. Ukikimbia uwe mbio kushinda wengine, a hidden sniper would shoot in such a way that upunguze speed muende pamoja. If you are slower than others, the sniper would shoot hapo kwa kisigino, and the way you would jump, it was similar to the way Mangelepa were dancing. So even when the place was called Mangelepa, they did not know that the original word came from the French word Marquis le Pas, which means marching soldiers. Now you know the meaning of Mangelepa. Then to the south of the camp, there is a Masai Manyata. You see, Masai wanamaliza miezi mbili, tatu, wanahama. But the Manyata which was there in 1983, it is still there in 2023. How many years are those? Are they 40? The reason being that it is a Manyata, although Masai stay there, but it is a Manyata built and financed for by the government. I'll just say it in passing. If you are a soldier, if you are an AP, if you are a KWS, if you are a Kenya Forest, if you are in the KDF, but not Kiganjo people, you know what we call cordon and search. So that Manyata is kept there for cordon and search. Wapi pengine nimesahau? I don't think there is any place I've forgotten. Then there is the shooting range. Shooting range, all shooting ranges are called that. Then you come back to the camp. I have defined I've made a geographical tour. Oh, I had forgotten the main one. And which anybody who has been to Magadi, you forget Mount Wambua, you'd rather even not comment anything. Or alternatively, just talk about Mount Wambua and forget everything. Everybody wants to know about Mount Wambua. Mount Wambua is a mountain, not a mount. It's a hill just opposite the main gate, and the Nairobi Magadi road passes in the middle. Mount Wambua, during when the GSU started calling it, when identified it as a training center, because Mount Wambua is the most important training facility in Magadi, GSU Field Training Camp. Mount Wambua is initially it was called Mount Recruit. And it served two purposes. First of all, it served as a purpose for training for hiking, mountain hiking, near the camp. So you'd find it had two places of going up and had only one going down. There is one which is very dangerous. You were not allowed to talk, because as you climb up, just stepping like a small stone, it will hit a bigger stone, and then the bigger stone will hit another bigger stone, and it will hit another bigger stone, so that the recruits who are at the end of the tail can be killed by that stone. So as you climb, before you reach the top, you are supposed to be very silent, so that those who are at the bottom can hear the stones coming. Mukipiga story, unajikuta uko so busy that mawe kikuja, you can be killed. That one, I remember, we climbed the Mount Wambua several times using that route strictly on academic purpose. Then there was this regular climbing, which you would climb and go up. This one which you call regular, kwanza kwa mtu wa kawaida hiyo ni kali sana. So ukipata ile kali sana ndio inaitwa regular, na ile sasa hao wanaita kali. Let me not talk about that. Thinking about that gives me a lot of joy to have passed through a tough test, but also gives me cringes, and I pray God and I thank God that during my time, no recruit ever suffered physically or even death. So you climb up, and instructors were being told strictly that the mountain was for, you want to punish, you know, ukifanya kosa unapanishiwa. Now, punishment of going up the Mount Wambua, I'll come to it. I don't know why I had forgotten, because Mount Wambua is the most important thing. Forget about all this other thing about Magadi camp. Mount Wambua, everybody talks about that. So, the orders were that apart from the time when you are climbing Mount Wambua, for training purpose, Mount Wambua was not allowed for any other, for punishment purpose, unless you were a recruit. If your instructor wanted you to go to Mount Wambua 20 times on educational purposes, then you could go there 20 times. But if your instructor wanted you to go there once, whether you are going there for refresher course or you are going there for promotion course, it was not allowed. But we had an RSM, Regimental Sergeant Major, who was called Wambua. To him, so long as you are not a member of staff, anybody else, aki mess up, he goes up to the mountain. The inspectors, the bosses would tell him, hiyo mlima ni mlima ya makurutu. He would say, anybody who is in this college attending any course ni kurutu of some sort. So they have to panda hiyo mlima. They have to panda. I will come back to say kupanda Mount Wambua, what it meant, especially in the non-academic world, in the punishment way. Now, RSM Wambua went to Kiganjo, attended a conversion course, and he joined the general duty, what you people call regular police. Then people started saying, hey, Wambua alikuwa anapenda hii Mount Recruit. Alikuwa anaipenda, ni kama yake. Simumfungie kwa bahasha mpeleke kula anayo. Then they started calling it Mount Wambua. Lastly, I want to talk about Mount Wambua as a punishment place. There were two types of punishment. They would give you a rucksack full of metal, and you'd be told to run up and down. Now, ukiteleza, as you are going up or even coming down, because you entered the so-called mountain from the northern side, unaenda at the tip. Hapo juu, it's a very good sightseeing place. Unaona, it reminds you of Moses in Mount Sinai. Then from there, unateremuka chini. As you are climbing, ukiteleza utaanguka mpaka kwa hiyo simiti, kwa hiyo lami. If there are no vehicle karibu, you become kiwete for life. But if there are vehicle around na hawajakuona watakukanyaga, you visit Jesus there and then. Both ukipanda na ukishuka. So unapandia upande wa north, ukishukia upande wa south. But then there is a place in northeast. Ile nilikuwa nimesema, it was strictly for climbing, for lessons where una mawe inaweza uwa mtu. That is daytime, unapimiwa saa, unapanda juu, unaenda, unazunguka, unaenda hapo. I faced that punishment once. na ukifika huko juu unapiga risasi juu kuonyesha umefika, because from the camp you could not be seen. But mimi nilifika hapo karibu na main gate ya GSU Training School, nikaficha hiyo bag nzito, kapanda juu, I shot my bullets vile nataka, nikirudi nikifika kwa gate, because ukipanda na ukishuka the bag at the, but then don't try this. Mtoto wa polisi ni mtoto wa polisi, mkora. So hiyo ya daytime I was punished once and I did that. Night time I was never punished, but a few people were punished during my time, around 6 of them. Unapanda jioni, you know, kambi za askari, supper ni 6. After supper you go up. You go up, that is the only time as a recruit you are given live bullets. Because huko juu, utalala huko juu. Utalala huko juu. So you have to have a live bullet. Should need be, you'll shoot any animal that comes near you. Then you are given several paralytes. Paralytes are very good at night. Wale mmeenda Nairobi show, naona kwamba there are those things wanashoot, unasikia nenda inafika juu, inafika, and then the whole place becomes daytime. You are given, you are going to be there for 12 hours. So you are given 24. Yes, you are given 30. You are supposed to fire 1 per half an hour. But you see, one can manufacture, so you are given 6 extra in case any does not function. What is the purpose of these paralytes? The purposes are 2. 1, if you don't shoot for more than 1 hour, a rescue team will be sent at night to come and see if you are safe. And you see, it was easy to find you because ilikuwa just one footpath going in a Y formation, so they would just follow that. And you know, for the case of a human being, ikisemekana saa 7 usiku, that person has not thrown paralyte, pandeni juu, munapanda. Hakuna this or that. The only advantage is hautakuwa na kitu nzito kwa mgongo. So you that was reporting back to the camp that you are still safe and alive huko juu every 30 minutes. So those who are on night duties, every 30 minutes wanaona light, wanajua you are safe. Another thing, fisi, sana sana fisi, he comes and tries to see if you are dead. So ukitupa paralyte, huyu jamaa anatoroka. Anatoroka, anaenda kutoka hapa mpaka wapi? Mpaka kule. And then baadaye anaanza kuja kujimwaya pole pole kukaribia. By the time somebody had done some maths and discovered that for every 30 minutes you'll keep that fish alive until morning. Then in the morning unateremka 5. Ukiteremka 5, wale wamelala wanaenda morning run. Hata wewe unahesabiwa umelala, utakimbia morning run huko kama wengine. So that is how Mount Wambua, initially it was called Mount Recruit, and then it changed to Mount Wambua. When I was there as a GD recruit doing military orientation course, we had 2 names, but it was more of Mount Recruit than Mount Wambua. But later the name Mount Recruit ilipotea, ikakuja ikabaki jina Mount Wambua. That long story, it is so entertaining that I'm sure that you have enjoyed it. Can you pass it to any person who has gone through the GSU training school in Magadi, or any other person who is in the discipline forces, or even young persons who want to join this wonderful job? I am over 60, but if I were to be young enough, ningekuwa kama nyoka ambaye ana become young again, I would still go to those places. Would I? No. Bwana, hiyo vitu you enjoy when you have left, but when you are still there, it is really dangerous. Thank you.